A vital element in keeping the peace is our military establishment. Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction. Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime, or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Well, there you go. A warning from a president on his way out, warning the American people about the military-industrial complex. In that short little speech there, he told you how America used to come together, and in the case of time of war, they would be ready, they would get ready, they would manufacture just as they did in World War II. But here he is warning us about what's to come and how it's all going to go down and how it went down eventually for Vietnam. The military-industrial complex. One of the companies at that time was Bell Helicopter. The Bank of Boston held the note on Bell Helicopter, and after Vietnam, Bell Helicopter was making lots of money, and that's what the military-industrial complex is about. Welcome to today's show. We're going to talk a little bit about Kennedy assassination, conspiracy theories. Going to throw up some random photos, some certain things we're going to talk about. Want to talk about Operation Northwoods a little bit. That's going to be something that was declassified because of the JFK movie. President Clinton had released some of the documents, and that was one of the documents that was released during that time. So, I'm going to pull up the Abraham Zapruder film real quick. Let's see if I can get this up here without messing this up. All right. Probably have to, I don't know. I'm going to let it play all the way through. I guess if they want to demonetize, they can, I guess. So, here we go. This is the famous Abraham Zapruder film. And you can see the motorcade is turning off of Houston onto Elm. There they are. And as they come around, see, he's waving right there. But when they come around behind this Stemmons freeway sign, you'll see Kennedy holding his throat. There he is. See, now he's holding his throat, so he's already took one shot into the throat area. Now I want you to know, this is the one that they said zigzagged around the car, and this was the magic bullet, as we talked about in one of the other videos. It was supposed to, because you had the one missed shot, then you had this shot that was supposed to go through Kennedy's throat, which he's been holding for a while now, and this was supposed to zigzag and end up in this wrist of Governor Connally. But notice he's still holding on to his hat. See, he's turned around. He's looking to see what in the world's going on. No, showing no signs of being hit. Now he's showing a sign of being hit. By the way, we're going to look at Mary Mormon. We're going to look at her picture that she took. And as you can see, she's got her camera up right there. She's getting ready to take the famous Polaroid shot of the grassy knoll. And it will be taken right at the moment of Kennedy's headshot. Now, which way does he go? Back and to the left, to quote the movie JFK, as Kevin Costner was playing Jim Garrison in the movie. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. So where did the shot come from? That's the question that's been, perplexing people for many years. 50 witnesses that day said that shot came from that grassy knoll. And there goes Jackie going over the back, apparently picking up a piece of his skull. You can see the Secret Service getting on the back of the car, and they speed off underneath the triple underpass. Okay. So Pewter was paid a lot of money for that. Time Life bought that film off of him for $100,000. And what did Time Life do with it? Well, they locked it up. They kept it under close wraps until Garrison apparently had requested that film and subpoenaed it. Now Time Life had to give it up, and up to that point, nobody has seen the Kennedy assassination film. It was kept from the public, and that's very, very telling on what was going on there. $100,000 for a video. Okay. Wanted to also talk about today. I wanted to talk about this deal with Oswald in New Orleans and what he was doing there. And as you can see, I'm going to put up on the screen here. This was a Playboy interview with Jim Garrison, and Garrison says here, yes, because this incident ties together some of the strands of the spider web. At that time, Oswald started his so-called Fair Play for Cuba Committee, and it was orchestrated through Bannister's office. How do we know that? Because Oswald, and I think he did this purposely, was to stamp this address onto the leaflets for a few of them. So it got out, so people knew that at 544 Camp Street, that was linked right now. He had these documents, these leaflets he was passing out. Now it was linked to Bannister because that was Bannister's address. And that's where Oswald was at. This is all before what took place in Dallas. This was in New Orleans. There's a belief out there that Oswald was definitely working for intelligence. Some people believed he was working for the FBI at this moment, and he was down at Lake Pontchartrain trying to close down a lot of these bases that the CIA had created in Lake Pontchartrain so they could do an invasion into Cuba. And that's what we're going to talk about here in a little bit with the Operation Northwoods, which is, like I said, it was a document that was actually declassified. So this place right here is 544 Camp Street, and then there was another address for this side. Down this street was the intelligence community of New Orleans. It had ONI, the NSA, I believe, the FBI, CIA, all of them had offices down this street. And here's Oswald, supposedly a communist, handing out leaflets out downtown New Orleans. Why would a known communist be hanging out down where the intelligence community is? That's just crazy. But that's what was going on. So something fishy's going on, and there's a reason why he put that address on those leaflets. Because I think he wanted, if something was to happen, it would be known what was going on, the clues. He was laying breadcrumbs, if you will. See what else we got here. See if we can find there's the picture of him there holding the gun. I thought I had a picture. Let me see if I can find it real quick. All right. See if I can drag us over here. That is Guy Bannister. He I'm trying to think of who played him in the movie JFK. The guy that plays Lou Grant, Ed Asner. Ed Asner plays him in the movie, and he was a known. I think he was once ONI, is what they said, Office of Naval Intelligence. And as the saying goes, that they said in the movie, once ONI, always ONI. And he's got Oswald working with him out of this office of his. And this is the reason why the whole movie of JFK was done, is to show you that they were all orchestrated by a guy named oh, I'm trying to think of his name right now. It's the guy. I always forget his name. I don't know why. We'll get to it in a minute. It'll come to me. Well, anyways, they're wanting to believe that this is all CIA connected, and I believe that's exactly what it is. It's all was connected with the intelligence community. They were up to no good down there. They were trying to cause anger, from the people towards Cuba. That's what they wanted because of all the things that took place with Cuba. Because when the Soviets, or I should say, when Castro took over down there, he ousted a lot of businesses, and most notably the mafia and stuff was kicked out of Cuba down there. And you can watch The Godfather to see that part of the effect. So there's old Guy Bannister, and people that was connected with him was a guy by the name of David Ferry. You could see David here in the thing. This guy, wow, supposed to be a known pilot. He was supposed to want to be a Catholic priest. I guess the term is he got defrocked because he was a known homosexual, I believe. The Catholic Church pretty much ousted him because of that. All that is what was said, even in the movie JFK. This guy, very dirty, very much involved with Oswald, doing quite well. If you ever want to see a good book to read on all this, especially what the movie JFK was done on, you need to get Crossfire with Jim Mars. It was the plot that killed Kennedy, and as you can read across the top, I get this glare off of it. It says the book that was the basis for Oliver Stone's movie JFK. And you can see how thick this is. There's a lot of stuff in here that the movie did not cover, and one of them was about this guy here losing his wallet and going back to Dallas to get it. Now, the question is, why did he go back to Dallas to get it? Because I don't think he wanted to be implemented into what was going on. He was called in New Orleans because of the connections that they believed he had with Oswald. And, of course, he denied everything. And it's one of the opening scenes in JFK where he's like, they went goose hunting that day. And you just have to watch the movie. I truly, truly recommend it. Oliver Stone did a really good job with that. Let's see what else we have here. Let's go to Mary Moorman's pick. Okay, this is Mary Moorman's picture right here. Blow that up. Okay. This is remember, as I showed you earlier, there she was in the video, and I'll pull it up here for you. Get a good close look up at it. She's taking the picture at that moment, and you can see here's the grassy knoll, and here the headshot is taking place. Now, she snapped this picture, and apparently there's a portion of this photo up here that they blowed up. And I will post a picture of that. Let me find it real quick. Of course, we're doing this all live. Let's see if I can get this one up. All right. This is what was blown up. And I know it's really, really hard to see that far away. I don't have a thing here where I can I don't think I can magnify it. No. Well, anyways, this is they believe this is somebody right here. And they believe this is somebody. And they believe this is somebody. Interesting about this picture is if you look real close, you can see something across right here. You can see something here. You can see something here, and you see this white blotch right here. Many in the conspiracy theory world believe that actually is the muzzle shot of the gunman, and they believe that this is a person dressed up as a Dallas policeman. He's got the arm patch, he's got the badge. This is what they call badge man. You can see the hairline, the forehead, the eyes. That's the muzzle flash. You can kind of see the arm doing this. Now, there's a colored version of this. They actually had color, which is going to kind of manipulate it a little bit, but might get you maybe see it a little bit clearer. Let's see if we can pull that one up. There. Now you see the muzzle flash. You can see the hairline. There's the ear. There's the arm patch. There's the badge. You can see the arm. This is blown up from Mary Mormon's picture right there, and it's pulled up from up there. Now remember, this is just a Polaroid, so you can't really pull it in. I don't think I could do it. It's somewhere up there. I'd have to look real close. But I've seen it before where they said they thought they took it from. But I've been to Dallas, and I've stood up there on the grassy knoll, and I'm telling you right now, they say it in the movie, that would have been an excellent place because it's just dead eye right on. And that's no joke. That really was. Jim Garrison, I spoke about him a few times. This is the guy in real life that is the guy that brought the only case to the JFK thing. He was the one who wanted to, I'm trying to think of that guy's name. Clay Bertram was his name, and is Clay Shaw. And he actually brought that case up against Clay Shaw. He was trying to prove that Clay Shaw was CIA, but they couldn't. There was no way of really technically proving it because they didn't allow a lot of evidence and a lot of testimonies. And back then, topless dancers and people of the underworld, if you will, wasn't credible enough to give testimony, and a lot of those things weren't allowed because it just was shady. But those would have been the people that would have known people like Jack Ruby and Oswald because they were down in the streets where all the filth was. But this is the actual man that brought the only case up against him. And it was years later, 1978, that it was proven that Clay Shaw, after his death, was actually CIA. So this man was right. He was absolutely on the right trail. And by the way, that was the name of his book, I believe, On the Trail of the Assassins by Jim Garrison. Get a chance, you can probably find that on YouTube, Amazon, or places like that. It's a good book. Well, let's see. Like I said, this is again one of those things where I'm just throwing some pictures out here. So let's see what else we have here. Let's go back. This one here. This one always got me. There's always the famous photo of Lyndon Johnson facing towards the guy. This is where he's taking the oath of office. He wanted Jackie to be in the picture so it would give more legitimacy to the change of guard. And this was done aboard Air Force One on the way out of Dallas. Now notice she's still wearing the same clothes she wore in the motorcade. This probably still has Kennedy's blood on it. This is that pink outfit, if you will, that she wore that day. Now, what I wanted this photo to be brought forth is, looky what he's doing over here. Let's see if I can blow that up even more so you could see it. Guys, that's a wink. And he looks like, that don't look like a frown or something upset. That looks like he's grinning. Just saying, I'm going to leave it right there. Make your own assertions. You can find out who that guy is. Let's see. What else we have here on this hodgepodge of stuff? Let's see. Let's get those down. Get that. There's that. Let's see what else we got. Oh, the famous picture of supposedly Oswald holding the gun, the Mannlicher Carcano. And there's a lot of people that's looked at this photo and thought, something just ain't right here. If you can look, there's a shadow under his nose, straight up and down. But they've always claimed, look at the shadow behind him, not straight up and down, but off to the side. And it seems a little weird on how he's standing. kind of got an awkward look. Looks like he's about ready to. When this picture was brought forth in front of Oswald in interrogation, he said this was superimposed, that his head had been cropped onto this picture. Could they have done it in 1963? You bet you they could have. They could have done it very easily, especially if they had planned this thing out. They could have easily cropped his head onto a body of somebody holding that. Plus, you got the deal with he's holding up a newspaper. It just seems totally awkward. I don't think a lot of people bought this photo and believing that this was actually legit. All right, so there was that. Let's see what else we got. Okay, this is the video of Robert Hughes. Now, what I want you to take note is after this motorcade turns onto Houston and it gets ready to go on to Elm, look at the windows upstairs of the buildings. Any motorcade, any presidential motorcade coming through, the Secret Service would have made sure all those windows were shut. And anytime a window would pop open, they would be ready. And this is how this went down. Now, I want you to notice they're turning onto Houston there. Now, it's going to be right up here. You're going to see the sniper's nest and everything. Here it is. See it? Look at all these windows open. All these windows are open as they're turning onto that road there. And there's where you actually see the videos. They're shooting across the way, and there's the gunshot. So... and they speed off, and you can see motorcycle cops are just flying at this point. People are running. But where are they running to, you know? There's also, you can do your homework on this. There's somebody speculated of being in that crowd that is a future president. That was over, see if I can back it up, somewhere over in this area right here. There's somebody's presidential library right down the road here. Just throwing that out there for little tidbits of it. I wanted to go back to that gunman thing on the grassy knoll. There, if you go back to this one, you could see somebody standing here, and it looks like, I wish I could blow this up, but you could look, there's an arm right here, and it looks like he's holding something up to his face. If you ever want to watch a great documentary on this, The Men Who Killed Kennedy is a great documentary. It was on the History Channel. There's about, I think, 5 discs on it. And it just explores almost every possible conspiracy theory that could be thought of at that time. And it was done by the BBC, I believe, as well. It was done over in England. But there's a guy in that video that's talking, and he's talking about being up on the grassy knoll filming it, and that's what it looks like. He's holding up to his face is like an 8mm camera, and he said he heard the gunshot, and it was right there to his left, and that would have been right here with this supposed picture. And when he was showed this picture, he broke down and cried because he knew that that's what he thought he saw up there, or what he was involved in. I wish I could think of his name right now. I'm just getting back into this, guys. I mean, I used to be hot and heavy in this stuff, and it's hard to remember everything. But I was wanting to show a video of them taking the casket and having it loaded into the Air Force One, but the video's hard to find. Now, I've got discs that have it on it, and I'm going to have to start looking this stuff up. But they're actually banging that casket going up that staircase there, and it looks a lot like a getaway. It really does when you watch it, especially in real time. And it's like, what are they doing? They're just trying to get out of Dodge. The gunman's supposedly caught right now. Oswald is supposedly, I believe, caught at this moment when this is all taking place. Let's see what else I got up here. Okay, this one here. This is Malcolm Kilduff at the press conference there at Parkland Hospital, and he's going to describe to you what is going on. And I want to note where he points at, if you will, when he goes to describe what took place.
Of a bullet right through the head. Of a bullet right through the head.
Notice where he points at, guys. he's pointing right. Find the actual spot up there. Look where he's pointing at. He's pointing right into the front right side of his head there. Okay? Is that solid evidence? No, that's just another stick on the big pile of conspiracy. He didn't point to the back of his head. He pointed to the front of his head. Okay. What else have I got? Let's see, got that. Let's see, I know I thought I pulled up Operation Northwoods. Let's see if I got that up. Let me minimize all this. All those guys. I know I had it. Well, if you don't, one good thing about this, you can always look it up. Complete Operation Northwoods. And I should pull up here. There's lots of videos on this. Make sure I get the right page. No, I don't want to do that one. It was actually one that was up here at the top. I need to really download this for myself. I don't think that's in it. Well, I know I had it up. That's a shame too, because I really wanted to show that. That was the whole point of all this. And I just don't see that I have it now. I know I wouldn't have killed it, but maybe I did. Operation Northwoods. It's in conduct with Operation Mongoose. It was about starting a war with Cuba, and it was done by Lionel Lemnisser. He was a Joint Chiefs of Staff at the time, and he was trying to orchestrate something like that. But man, that's just a shame I don't have that up. I know I did. That's wild. Let's do this one more time. Complete Operation Northwoods doc. We'll see what happens there. Let's see if it's this one. Okay, here we go. All right. All right, so as you can see, this was it's unclassified now, and it's a Joint Chiefs of Staff, Washington, D.C. And look, it's March 13th, 1962. So it's, a little bit over a year. It's about a year and a half or so before Kennedy is assassinated. It's signed by Lionel Lemnisser, Joint Chiefs of Staff, and it made its way from him to Bob McNamara onto Kennedy's desk. And in this document, like I said, it's free online. You can look at it. It talks about wanting to start as requested by the Chief of Operations Cuba Project, the Joint Chiefs of Staff are to indicate brief but precise description of pretexts which they consider would provide justification for U.S. military intervention into Cuba. Okay? Now, we're going to go through this a little bit. We're going to skip a lot of it, but it's all there if you want to read it. Let's see. There again, it says, which would provide justification for U.S. military intervention into Cuba. Furthermore, let's go down here. Reference made a memorandum. Okay. A reference is made to memorandum from Chief or Operations Cuba Project for General Craig, subject Operation Mongoose. And that was talking about that same thing about going in there. And there's a great line with that guy in JFK. He says they called it Operation Mongoose. Yeesh. So that's what they were talking about. Now, mind you, when they were making the film, this document wasn't released yet. Remember, this document gets released after the movie JFK. If it had been Before that, it definitely would have been in the movie to explain some of this stuff. Let's go down here and see what some of these things are. All right. Incidents to establish a credible attack, not in chronological order. All right. It said start rumors, many with using clandestine radio. Number 2, land-friendly Cubans in uniform over the fence to stage attack on the base, talking about Guantanamo. Number 3, capture Cuban-friendly saboteurs inside the base. Now, mind you, I'm reading this, and none of this is actually really happening. They're saying this is what we want to do to make the people believe something's going on. That's what you got to understand with this. This is all fabricated. This is wrestling 101, and that's what they're doing here. And this came from your Pentagon. Start riots near the base main gate. Friendly Cubans. Blow up ammunition inside the base. Start fires. Burn aircraft on airbase. Sabotage. Lob mortar shells from outside of base into base. Some damage to installations. Do you think they care what they hit? I don't. Capture assault teams approaching from the sea or the vicinity of Guantanamo City. Number 9, capture militia groups which storm the base. Number 10, sabotage ship in harbor, large fires. This is what happened in 1898. It's been proven that we had, we blew up one of our own ships in Havana Harbor to get us into the war with Spain, and that's what's going on there. They're talking about doing that same very thing. Sink ship near the harbor entrance. Conduct funerals. Look at this, guys. Conduct funerals for mock victims. Maybe lieu of 10. They want mock funerals to make you believe people died. United States would respond by executing offensive operations to secure water and power supplies, destroying artillery and mortar emplacements which threaten the base. So they're telling you how, not only are they telling you how they want them to attack, but now they're going to tell you how they're going to respond to such attack. Commence large-scale United States military operations. A Remember the Maine incident could be arranged in several forms. Now get that again. They're talking about the USS Maine from 1898, which Spain controlled Cuba at that time, and supposedly one of our ships gets blown up, which is the USS Maine. And again, here's Lionel Lebesser reminding that do a Remember the Maine incident. And it could be arranged in several forms. A, we could blow up the U.S. ship. I mean, this is our own government talking, guys. We could blow up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba. B, we could blow up a drone. Yes, a drone in 1962. Unmanned vessel anywhere in the Cuban waters. We could arrange to cause such an incident in the vicinity of Havana or Santiago as a spectacular result of a Cuban attack from the air or sea or both. The presence of the Cuban planes or ships merely investigating the intent of the vessel could be fairly compelling evidence that the ship was taken under attack. The nearness to Havana and Santiago would add credibility, especially to those people that might have heard the blast or have seen the fire. The U.S. could follow up with an air-sea rescue operations covered by the U.S. Fighters to evacuate remaining members of non-existent crew. Casualty list in U.S. newspapers would cause a helpful wave of national indignation. We could develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington. What do you guys think so far? Leave a comment. Also remember to like and subscribe. We're doing this all on the fly today, so we're just trying to look at some things that came from the Kennedy assassination. So, a terror campaign could be pointed at Cuban refugees seeking haven in the United States. We could sink a boatload of Cubans en route to Florida, real or simulated. We could foster attempts on lives of Cuban refugees in the United States, even to the extent of wounding in instances to be widely publicized. Do you guys see what's going on here? Number 5. Let's go to 5. A Cuban-based Castro-supported filibuster could be simulated against a neighboring Caribbean nation in the vein of the 14th of June invasion of the Dominican Republic. We know that Castro is backing subversive efforts clandestinely against Haiti, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and possible others. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can read all this for yourself. It's all there. Use a MiG-type aircraft by U.S. pilots could provide additional provocation, harassment of civil air. That means American people. Attacks on surface shipping and destruction of U.S. military drone aircraft by MiG-type planes would be useful in a complementary action. Complementary. The wording they're using in this document. Helpful, complementary. An F-86 properly painted would convince air passengers that they saw a Cuban MiG, especially if the pilot of the transport were to announce such fact. The primary drawback to this suggestion appears to be the security risk inherent in obtaining or modifying an aircraft. However, reasonable copies of the MiG could be produced from U.S. resources in about 3 months. They're even given timelines on how long it would take to get this stuff going. Hijacking attempts against civil air, again, against American Airlines that we have in this country, Pan America, all of them, and surface craft should appear to continue as harassing measures condoned by the government of Cuba. Concurrently, genuine defections of Cuban civil and military air and surface craft should be encouraged. Oh my gosh. An aircraft at Eglin Air Force Base would be painted and numbered as an exact duplicate for the civil registered aircraft belonging to a CIA proprietary organization in the Miami area. At a designated time, the duplicate would be substituted for the actual civil aircraft and would be loaded with select passengers, all boarded under carefully prepared aliases. The actual registered aircraft would be converted to a drone. Man, if this doesn't scream of 9/11. What happened to the plane that landed in Cleveland that nobody could explain what happened to it? Takeoff times for the drone aircraft and actual aircraft will be scheduled to allow a rendezvous south of Florida. From the rendezvous point, the passenger carrying craft will descend to a minimum altitude and go directly into an auxiliary field at Eglin Air Force Base, where arrangements have been made to evacuate the passengers and return the aircraft to its original status. The drone aircraft, meanwhile, will continue to fly the filed flight plan. When over Cuba, the drone will be transmitting on the international distress frequency a Mayday message stating is under attack by a Cuban MiG aircraft. The transmission will be interrupted by destruction of the aircraft, which will be triggered by radio signal. This will allow the ICAO radio stations in the Western Hemisphere to tell the U.S. what had happened to the aircraft instead of the U.S. trying to sell, in quotes, the incident. I mean, guys, I don't even really want to read the rest of this. Of course, there's only one more page of it. I might as well. Approximately 4 to 5 F-101 aircraft will be dispatched in trail of Homestead Air Force Base in Florida to the vicinity of Cuba. Their missions will be to reverse course and simulate Faker aircraft for a air defense exercise in southern Florida. These aircraft would conduct variations of these flight and frequent intervals. Crews would be briefed to remain at least 12 miles off of the Cuban coast. However, they would be required to carry live ammunition in the event that hostile actions were taken by Cuban MiGs. See, so there, hopefully that we don't have the actual Cuban MiGs get involved. We got to make sure we got live ammo, because that would even be better. We could actually have an incident. I want to remind you guys, this guy gets fired. Okay? Kennedy fires this guy because he came up with this idea. I mean, these guys were itching to get into Cuba. And if you can't get that from the gist of this document, then you're not paying attention, because this is they're wanting in there bad. Very bad. Let's see here. On one such flight, a pre-brief pilot would fly tail end Charlie at considerable intervals between aircraft. While near the Cuban island, this pilot would broadcast that he had been jumped by MiGs and was going down. No other calls will be made. The pilot would then fly directly west at extremely low altitude and land at a secure base at Eglin Auxiliary. The aircraft would be met by the proper people, quickly stored and given a new tail number. The pilot had performed the mission under an alias, would resume his proper identity and return to his normal place of business. The pilot and the aircraft would then have disappeared. What does that mean? The pilot would have disappeared? Probably permanent-like. At precisely the same time that the aircraft was presumably shot down, a submarine or a small surface craft would distribute F-101 parts, parachute, etc., at approximately 15-20 miles off the Cuban coast and depart. The pilots returning to homeland or homestead would have a true story as far as they knew. Search ships and aircraft would be dispatched and parts of the aircraft found. And the Joint Chiefs of Staff had previously stated that the United States unilateral military intervention in Cuba can be undertaken in the event that the Cuban regime commits hostile acts against the U.S. forces and property, which would serve as an incident upon which to base overt intervention. So they were hoping even that would probably, start a war. And guys, that's why I played at the very beginning Eisenhower's speech about warning us about the military-industrial complex. And that's what's going on there is that they're itching for wars. And as we talked about today in one of our other videos, wars and rumors of wars mentioned in Matthew 24, that's what we're seeing here. They were trying to create something so that we could get in there. And this document lands on Kennedy's desk, guys. It makes it all the way there. And Kennedy was like, I don't think so. I like to think that this is the turning moment in Kennedy, because it's the moment where I think he spent that time with them boys in that PT boat, and I think he actually was with the actual American boys in there, and I think he got a little bit of because I don't think his dad was a good guy. I mean, anybody who pulled their money out the night before the market or the week before the market crashed in 2029, people with money, it's hard to trust them. But I think he was doing the right thing. I think he thought about the American people and how this is just absolutely a travesty. And he couldn't do it. So he basically, like I said, he fired Lionel Lemonster. He also fired Alan Dulles of the CIA. He said he was going to splinter it into the wind. That was what it was going to be. There wasn't going to be nothing left of the CIA. But that day when he went to Dallas, as you see in the picture here beside me, he ain't coming back from Dallas alive. He wanted to get us he wanted to pull the advisors out of Vietnam. He was pulling the 10,000 advisors out. He didn't want to go into Cuba. He was going to do away with I believe the Federal Reserve. He was going to back our money with silver. And he was going to get rid of the CIA. This man is going to come back in a box. That's what I'm saying. They got that much, I believe they have that much control. This is not the Cubans killing him. It wasn't the communists. It wasn't the mafia. I mean, who could change the parade routes? Who had the ability to do that? Well, that would have been, the people in power. And find a picture of it. All right, that's probably really low. Let's pull it up here. I mean, let's pull this up. The actual original parade route was supposed to go straight through here. That's where it was supposed to go. But they changed it to come up here. And supposedly Oswald gets a job up here working at the school book depository. How would he have known? I mean, this would have been a heck of a shot from across here. But apparently they let he doesn't shoot him as he's coming up the road. He shoots him supposedly coming after it, away from him. But here, that's where it was supposed to be. Who had the ability to change that parade route? And we're supposed to believe it was this guy. This is the guy. This guy was definitely dirty. He was definitely part of the intelligence community. I think Garrison had it right in the movie JFK. He was probably CIA. Today, you still can't even get his tax documents because of national security. Because I think once we found out who was actually paying him, we would all have red flags. So his tax documents are locked away, and also with all the rest of the stuff that we haven't seen yet. And this supposed lone nut did all this. I'm not saying he's probably is intelligence, but he was sent down there to help try to infiltrate the stuff that was going on in Lake Pontchartrain in New Orleans. They gave him that next position, and then that next position was to set him up exactly what he said he was in that hallway. He said he was a patsy. And he's a decoy. That's what he is. That's what he's doing. He's waiting on a phone call in that second floor of that school book depository, waiting on a phone call. That's what I think he's doing. And I think when they picked him up at the Texas Theater, he's there to meet his handler, which was probably George de Mohrenschildt, to be honest with you. And that guy's a character too. After you find out who he is, and he actually had connections with Jackie's family. But to believe this guy did it? This guy? Nah. Not with a bent sight on a Mannlicher or Carcano rifle. It's just crazy to think. And then they end his life by sending this guy in to do him away so he cannot speak now. A lot of Americans knew that when this took place, that something fishy was going on. And they let this guy in. This was supposed to be down in the basement of the police station. They were getting ready to send him in a car, and they're gonna let Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner, to come in here. And the reason why he said he did away with Oswald, because he didn't want to see Jackie have to testify. Really? That's the reason? Oh, that's so honorable, Jack. There's people who identified Jack Ruby in Dealey Plaza a day or two before the actual assassination. What was he doing there? Watch JFK. I totally recommend that film. It's one of Oliver Stone's best. You get a chance, watch it. Again, here's the magic bullet. Here's the, as they like to call it, the pristine bullet. This is the one that was found in a stretcher in Parkland Hospital. This is the one that was supposed to be in Connolly's leg, but somehow got pushed out of his leg and into the stretcher. There's a shot of supposedly that's where he would have shot him from. There's the route. There's the route from an aerial view. James Tague gets shot down here on a missed shot. That messed everything up for him. They didn't know what to do about that. Okay. Well, anyways, that's some of the things I really wanted to talk about Operation Northwoods today. It was funny. I've talked about this with many people over the years, and until you actually get the document out and actually look at it and actually read it, it's then when you see the eyes open of the person that sees it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, really? They said all? Yes, they did. That's what they said. That's what they wanted, and that's the reason why Lemnitzer got fired." But when the hen is or the actual fox is guarding the hen house, that's what you got. They actually were trying to control all this. I think by Oswald getting out of Dealey Plaza, it messed up their plans. He got out of Dealey Plaza. I think he would, they might have wanted to end his life right there in Dealey, so they'd have got the lone gunman. It would have been the end of the story, and the American people would have bought it. And then they locked away the Zapruder film, which we saw in this, and it showed that it was back and to the left. Anybody who's been deer hunting knows that that is not the way. A deer does not go into the shot, but they would go away from the shot. So lots of things. We're going to probably do some more videos on this. These last two I've done on the conspiracy stuff has been kind of like a hodgepodge, if you will. It's been a potpourri of a lot of subjects and a lot of things. I wanted just to, today, the main focus was Eisenhower's speech on the military-industrial complex, and then to show you what Operation Northwoods, what your government was actually doing in a document. So, an interesting side note about the Eisenhower exit speech was, look at him when he looks off. He looks off to the right there at somebody, and when he mentions the military-industrial complex. And then think about all the money that we spent on the military thereafter. I mean, that's what he's warning us about, because we had to build up our military before at World War II, because we weren't prepared at that moment. So their idea was all the money they can make off this, and my goodness, that's what caused the inflation in the 70s, guys, was the Vietnam War. That money takes time to get through the system and end up that where it devaluates our dollar. That's kind of where we are now. You mix in the wars that we had over in Afghanistan and in Iraq, and you also the unlimited printing of money that we've had since 2008, all this stuff culminates and comes rearing its ugly head. It's called inflation. And the only way to fix that is you got to shut the printing presses off. And I'd hate to say it, but I agree with Kennedy. A lot of the things he wanted to get rid of should have been gotten rid of a long time ago. And I think he might have been the last guy that really, really, really tried to do something, because trust me, I don't think anybody who goes up against the system is going to win. That's why Ron Paul never got in there, because they did everything they could to campaign against him. Back in the day, in 2012, he won 7 states against Mitt Romney in the Republican primaries. He won 7. Do you want to know what the actual number you would have had to win if you wanted to speak at the Republican National Convention? 7. You know what they did? They changed it to 8. They control the narrative, and they're already trying to control our speech and everything on these platforms and stuff. It's the world we live in, and as my shirt says, trust God, not government. That's words to live by. Anyways, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. We did a earlier video. We did one on Bible scripture on Matthew 24. We just did a end times report discussing about the current events, and I thought I would finish all this up and culminate to a conspiracy video, a conspiracy theory video on the Kennedy assassination. So we covered all the subjects today: the Bible, current events, and conspiracies. That's what the channel's about. That's what we're here for. We're here to examine all these things, and we got all three of them, done today. So again, may the Lord bless you, and may the Lord keep you, and may He guide you through your journey for today and tomorrow and thereafter. May God bless us all. May God bless the United States. All righty. Y'all take care.